I hope you're going to have a good one. I hope you're going to have a safe one. But in general, happy Halloween 2023. And my guest today will be from Page to Screens, very own Stuart.
Hey John, how you doing?
I'm not bad. How about you, mate?
I am not too bad. This is the first time I'm doing any sort of YouTube video with my iPad, so the fact you can hear me and I can see you, we're good. We're doing all right.
Yeah, so far, good. And
Yeah, so far, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
yeah. Well, the purpose of this stream tonight, hopefully we get through the films as quick as possible without, well, we'll take a time
There's
sort of
no
thing.
rush. Do you know what?
No rush at the minute.
I've booked till 7 in the morning to do this with you, John. So we're good to
So,
go for 13 hours.
13 hours, eh?
We can do it. I'm pretty sure.
We'll be
No.
into the dawn and day of the dead ourselves.
Pretty much.
But first of all, of course, we've got to start off with a quick introduction of George Romero, who passed away in 2017. Is a great independent director. Pittsburgh, is it?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh in America.
Yeah.
Long career. Started his career off in filming adverts. Did the old college thing and met his crew and friends and family. Basically, I'm wearing a Night of the Living Dead T-shirt, by the way.
Nice. I've got my Living Dead Blu-ray somewhere in this pile of
In
horror
that pile,
movies.
cool. I can see you got a great set of movies there.
Yeah. Long live physical media.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And you don't get more old school than VHS.
Nice. Do you know what? That was the first version of Night of the Living Dead that I ever watched.
Same here in
And
colour.
is that the colorized one?
That it is indeed.
It is. So I'd never seen, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but I'd never seen Night of the Living Dead. And I knew it was a classic because I'd seen it in films like Halloween and stuff on the TV screens. And I really wanted to watch it. That was the only version I could get. And I'm so much of a purist that I don't want to watch it in color because I hate colorized versions.
I
So I
know, I
turned
know
all
what you're
the
saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and of course, it's supposed to be seen in black and white. I have got it on
yeah.
DVD and Blu-ray,
I turned
but
the
I
color
just
down on the TV
turn
and
the color
watched it
down.
properly
Yeah,
in black
that's
and white. I'm
right.
like, no, I'm going to watch it the way George intended.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. But just this version, I always remember me auntie having. Hi, Wolf Spirit of the chat, by the way, April. This is what I watched around my auntie's. She had it, this very version, I believe, on VHS with stuff like Evil Dead and all the horror classics, just about. And April's just saying that she's got, like, in the chat, sorry, she's just saying that she's got a lot of physical media as well. She's a physical media person from
Go
America.
on, April. Yes, I
Thanks,
can't see
April.
the chat. I can't see the chat window on the screen I'm looking at, so I'm not ignoring anybody.
Oh, right. No worries. I'll try to keep you up to date.
Oh, it is
April
popping up
says,
actually. It's popping up in my little thing now. Hello
she's saying
again, John.
hello,
Hello, guest
basically.
on panel. Hello.
Hello. Basically, that's where I started watching, like, Night of the Living Dead and all the zombie films and all the horror films, basically, because they were around my aunties and I was being babysat one summer.
So I got a question for you, John. How
Yeah.
old were you when you first? This will turn into like one of my regular podcasts.
No, that's fine, mate.
Just tell me to shut up if I keep waffling. How
No,
old
keep
were you
going.
when you first saw Night of the Living Dead? Because you were younger than me. I know this for a fact because I was pretty old when I saw this.
I think I saw it in, like, the summer of 1992.
Okay, so it's still
Or
before me. I
maybe,
mean, I was born in 71.
yeah.
And I was like 28 when I saw it for the first time because
I was a teenager.
I always avoided it because it's like,
It did
and
look scary.
I'm fine with horror movies now,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I
I know
always
what you're
got the
saying.
impression that zombie films were just like, like
Nasty.
Walking Dead is now, where it's flesh getting ripped apart, and I'm like, I don't want to watch stuff like that. I want to watch Star
Yeah,
Wars and
exactly.
Superman and stuff like that. So I avoided it
I know you like Superman, yeah.
until I thought, you know what, I need to start ticking some classics off, and that's when I picked up the colorized version, turned the color off, watched it in black and white, and it is in my not just favorite horror movies of all time, but it's in my favorite movies of all time. I
It is
adore
mine as
this
well,
Night of the
the
Living Dead.
original black and white 1968 version. And like it
Yeah,
says on the front, don't watch this alone. When you see stuff like that, you're thinking, whoa, this
yeah.
is going to be something that I'm not supposed to be watching.
And I didn't until I was in my late 20s, and then I realized that I was missing out on a classic. So I've
Oh
watched it
yeah,
many, many
definitely,
times over
definitely.
the years to catch up.
And let's talk about the first film from 1968. It is 1968, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Night of Living Dead. Bill Hinsman or Heinzman on the front, who sadly passed away as well. It's the first zombie we see in this, and basically, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Starts off in the graveyard and they're putting the wreath on the mother's grave, sort of thing. And it's Johnny and Barbara, a brother and sister. And it's it wastes no time basically just getting into the terror, doesn't it?
yeah. It builds up the atmosphere, and then just, once you're inside that house, pressure goes up, and then you'll be a bag of nerves right till the
Isolated.
very, very end of the movie. I
I
adore
mean, we
that
can.
movie.
I'm good. I said that at the bottom of this, it might be slight spoilers, but we can talk about the spoilers because
Hmm.
I assuming people that are watching this are probably familiar with the likes of George Romero and
Maybe not
his
though.
living
I mean, maybe we can do some spoilers, but if we find a way to talk about it without
without giving it away.
massively spoiling, because like I say, I was in my
Okay,
late 20s when I first watched it. This
that's
was in
fair enough.
1998 when I saw it,
Wow,
so it'd been out many, many
it
years.
would
So
have been
I'm
my
not old
college
enough that I
days.
missed it by a couple of years. It was many years it had been out before I ever
Mm. But like I
jumped
said,
into the
they're
Romero
coming to get
pool.
you, Barbara. But this glows in the dark as well, I think.
No, but oh, geez, yeah.
But with Night of the Living Dead, of course, it's a classic. It's in black and white. It reflected the times of like Vietnam and stuff like that. Is that right?
I think so. I
Or
think
did
I've
that
changed my
come a bit
glasses.
later?
Does well, no, it was around the time Vietnam was still going on.
Yeah.
At the time the film was done, and there's been a lot of talk over the years about, oh, this is what George meant, and he meant this, and I think George himself has said, oh, I was making a movie and I hired the best person for the role, and so I don't know. I think a lot of people are putting the myths on the way that George cast the film and what his story
Yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah.
and stuff like that. So I don't know how accurate a lot of that is.
I mean, yeah, you do bring up good points there. I mean, my favourite characters in this, you
Oh
don't know
my!
many zombie films, April, just Resident Evil.
Oh, you need to get
Yeah.
like what would some of your recommendations be, John? I'm going to throw in Train to Busan, which is an amazing zombie film.
Other zombie films, you mean?
Yeah,
Um,
let's try and boost
Probably,
April's collection there a little bit.
yeah, okay. Probably Dawn of the Dead, the remake from
Ooh,
2004.
that is good. Yeah,
Zombie Flesh Eaters.
I made the mistake of watching that after I watched Night of the Living Dead, because I'm like, maybe zombie films aren't all brutal and nasty, and then I watched Zombie Flesh Eaters, and I'm like, oh
Yeah, because
yes,
it was
they
part of
are,
the
they
video
really
nasty
are.
area, weren't it?
Yeah.
But there's the 70s zombie films. There's a few hit and miss, kind of can be bit gory 70s Italian zombie
There's a lot.
films.
Yeah.
There are a lot, yeah, like the
Resident Evil
spin-offs.
ones I enjoy though. I like those.
The what one, sorry?
The Resident Evil box set that she said she had.
Oh yeah, April
Good
mentioned
films.
it, Resident Evil. Thanks for watching, by the way, April. I appreciate it. But just going back to Night of the Living Dead, I mean, I'm trying to think of any recommendations. 28 days later. Oh yeah, 28 weeks later and stuff like that. Of course,
Oh,
they're British
cracking.
classics.
I wish they'd hurry up and do 28 months later. They need to get a move on. I
Yeah,
need
I
that
heard
film.
about that.
I need
I
that
heard
movie.
about that. Obviously, that was like shot in this country, in London and places.
There's a really good film called The Sadness, which
I've
is on
heard
Shudder.
about this,
That is amazing. You know, if you've
but
not
I've heard
watched
how
it, you
grim it is.
oh, it really is, but it's amazing. It's really good.
They've cancelled 28 Months Later.
What? Well, I'm going to get it
Apparently.
uncancelled. I'm gonna.
But I'm just listening to a trailer for it. I mean, because it is late, and I'm
Yeah, let's
thinking
Romero. So
back to
So was
Romero.
this your first introduction to Romero, Night of the Living Dead?
I think Creepshow might have been,
Yeah, around '82 when that came out. So yeah.
but Creepshow I would have seen on like late night TV over Halloween,
Yeah.
or just seen it on TV, or seen it rented, or even Creepshow 2,
Yeah.
which is not really Romero, even though I think he did write some of the film.
Mm.
But
I mean, it's not as pure Romero as the film you're holding in your
oh
hand
yeah,
there.
of course not. Of course not. We both
That's
know
like
that.
the ultimate.
I think we both know that. I mean, I was just about to say before I, I got sidetracked in my mind, that my favourite character in this is Ben.
Yeah.
I will not give anything away, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but Ben is pretty much the lead actor in this film. Barbara, she just screams a lot. Bless her, bless the actress though.
Yeah.
She was doing what she was doing, but they're all trapped in this farmhouse, and there's no way to get out. And they're all turning on each other with Henry Cooper, his wife, his daughter, the daughter who doesn't really do much in this until later on.
Until she does something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's pretty nasty. That
Yeah. That
scene.
it's certainly. I mean, nowadays it's still a bit of a shocker, but
It
in
is shocking.
1968, you can imagine how much of a shocker that would be.
I've noticed that they play this a lot on. I know because it's in the public domain, or
Yeah.
apparently still in the public domain. But I know they play this on like BBC One, like an iPlayer. And when they have stuff on, like, you're gonna laugh at this. When they have EastEnders on and they show like a horror scene from like Halloween night that they're watching a horror film, it's always the black and white Night of the Living Dead, and they're just going how grotesque it is. But they don't mention the name of the film or anything like
No.
that. But it's always Night of the Living Dead, and that makes me smile
Yeah.
because it is Night of the Living Dead. I mean, out of Bud Files, so we're just talking about zombie films from George A. Romero from
The
Pittsburgh.
master of horror.
Master of horror, master of filmmaking, low budget filmmaking, independent filmmaking.
Super nice guy. I got to spend like 20 minutes
You
chatting
did
to
meet
him.
George Romero, didn't you?
I
Please tell
did,
me
mate.
about that.
Yeah. He was at a Comic-Con.
Very tall, isn't he?
Pretty much, yeah. He had his trademark waistcoat on, obviously his glasses, which are
His
trademarked.
glasses.
And he finished filming Land of the Dead. So
We'll
he
get
was
onto that
just having a
soon.
break between that and it coming out. So we just chatted about how many times he'd seen the film and said, oh, hundreds. And I had this little fluffy sheep called Lammy, who I used to take around, and it's been all over the world. It's got pictures of this sheep everywhere. And I took it
Yeah.
and pitched Lamb of the Dead to George Romero. And the film never got
Pretty
made,
cool.
but he had a big old smile on his face. But luckily there was nobody trying to shove me out the way to get a move on. So I spent about 20 minutes chatting to him. So,
That's nice. That's nice.
super nice guy.
He's a really tall guy, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Well,
I
he
met
was.
him. I
Sorry.
met Savini. I met Galen Ross. I met Ken
I've met
Foray. So it was a
Savini.
good old Dawn of the Dead day for me. It's fun. Exactly. Yeah. I like Dawn of the Dead, but it ain't no Night of the Living Dead. If you have to choose, is that a difficult choice for you, Joe?
Don't be so mean.
It may get meaner. Although Day of the Dead might not do very well being compared to the first two, but still good. But I've got to go Night of the Living Dead.
Great.
Got to go Night for my favourite.
That's fair enough, but I think Dawn of the Dead is. Before we talk about Dawn of the Dead from 1978, the sequel to Night of the Living Dead, Shaun of the Dead, April.
Yeah. Clever title. I'll give it that.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Made in Britain, Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
Classic. It's very well known from 2003, 2004, isn't it?
I think
Something like that.
2004, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think it's 2004. I do
I
remember
think
that.
so.
It's nearly 20 years now.
Yeah.
But Dawn of the Dead, right. This one's in colour.
Mm.
It's got like bright red blood, like it's like paint.
Yeah.
It's
Very
got a
70s aesthetic
very
to the
70s. It's
film. Yeah.
very colourful. It's very off its time. It's set in a shopping mall. The whole world is being overtaken by zombies. And I feel a bit ashamed that I haven't got the Blu-ray version of this yet because it's so expensive.
I got sent screeners through for that, like the 4K one, and it's a triple disc thing. And I've never gone out
Yeah,
and bought the actual version because it is so pricey. It's worth it. We're not saying it's
our
like not worth
video.
the money, but at the end of the day, whatever it costs is how much it costs, and we don't all happen to have that lying around on our desks, do we?
I know, especially for one film or
Yeah.
multiple versions of the film. If you care to speak about it, if you can remember, I'm sure you do. Oh yeah, first of all, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. I mean,
That
terrifying.
tagline is up there with "In space, no one can hear you scream" as a
I agree
memory
with
of
you.
my
From
childhood.
Alien, yeah,
I used to
totally
spend a
agree
lot of
with you.
time. We spent a lot of time in video stores when I was a kid, just because it saved me from going home. So I just wander around video stores, and I remember seeing the box art for that and that tagline: "Then no more room in hell. The dead will walk the earth." What does that look like? Well,
That's
are these all
scary.
up? It freaked me out as a kid, and it was
It scared me
probably
as well.
I think it's probably mid 80s when I first saw it, and it's probably on a TV thing. And because it was the mid 80s when I watched it, and it looks like a 70s film, it didn't
Yeah,
scare me. Night of the Living Dead
I know what
still
you
creeps
mean.
me out more than Dawn of the Dead does.
I
But Dawn
agree
of
with
the
what you're
Dead's
saying.
longer and it's lot more action packed, really, isn't it?
It's more action packed, more bloody, but with like paint,
Yeah,
red paint blood. It's very comic bookish.
yeah.
It's got some questionable acting in places, but it's still a
A
good
little bit.
film.
And
It's a
multiple
long
versions as
film,
well.
but it doesn't seem like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Depends which director's cut version you're watching of it.
Yeah, it flies by.
It does, like Flyboy.
Yes, exactly. And I always remember the helicopter scene when the
Yeah, I
top of
know
the
which
head
bit
gets
you
chopped
mean.
off.
That's takes place early in the film. That does,
Yeah.
and it's
But
just
no, I
all
do. I
go
love
from
it.
there.
It's not in my top lists or anything, but that's nothing against the film. It's
Okay,
just
okay.
it's just I've seen a lot of films and I've got a very long list of my favorite ones. And Night of the Living
Yeah,
Dead
I
was
understand
probably
that.
easily my top 10 of all
I
time.
understand that.
But
Because
yeah,
we're of that generation that like say, oh, it's not as good as the old film sometimes, or it's not as good as the original
ugh.
sort of thing.
We live in a culture where everybody's just got to complain about everything now, and it's just like
I know. I mean,
get
I
over
don't
it.
want to sound as though I'm complaining or anything
No, not
like
at
that.
all, not at all. No.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. But Dawn of the Dead had Tom Savini doing special effects in this
And
and
it did a
acting in it,
lot. There's a lot of effects in that. Like I say, the film itself isn't the shortest film around, so the work that
but it
Savini and
doesn't
his
seem
team
like
did,
two
it's
hours.
no, it really
It
doesn't. It's
flies
very
by.
well paced. It's very well
It,
paced. It is a film
yeah,
I love.
same here. And this inspired the likes of zombie flesh eaters as well.
Mm.
And there are many versions of this as well. There's like a Dario Argento version.
Yeah, which is the shortest of the three. Then there's an international cut, which is the longest of the three, and then there's a
Yeah,
theatrical one, which is kind of in between.
in
I'd
between just
say
over 2 hours.
I think the only version I've not seen is the Argento one because it's the
That's
shortest.
very
I'm like, why would I watch a version that's short? So I really should go back and watch it just to see what
well.
difference it made on it.
The Argento version is the one I watched in 1991 on Sky Movies Gold really late at night because my dad was telling me about the film. Because I just watched SummerSlam 1991 WWF. That
Mm.
had been on. So it was late. And so, like, yeah, like Bret Hart, who just beat Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship and stuff like that. And then the big contrast is that Dawn of the Dead was on after it, but on Sky Movies Gold in 1991, because we had Sky
Yeah.
a lot as a kid. We were lucky. Like, I think a few of us had Sky for a while before it got very
Expensive.
and boring,
Yeah. Yeah.
or just too like the other channels, more should I say. But I watched it in 1991 after SummerSlam, which was a WWF WWE event. It was a Sky Movies Gold, but Dad told me it was on, so I stayed up and watched it, and I loved it. I think
it is a great film. It's probably the one I've seen probably more than Night of the Living Dead, to be fair, because of the multiple versions and the multiple times it's come out with all different extras and stuff on it.
Spoiled for choice, really. But
pretty much.
it's one of those
If you get a
things
chance to listen to commentaries, I would listen to the commentaries.
Yes,
because they're really
Tom
good.
Savini does commentary.
Yeah, and on the expensive version that you've seen, there's very different commentaries on each version of the film, so you get like I don't know how many commentaries in total, but there's a whole bunch.
BBC Two shown it once in 1997. I don't think. Well, don't think. I just remember those times because of being in college, and I remember seeing the extra long version, which I think was the in between version.
That'd be what they call the international cut, I think. Which was obviously it's not international to us, but it's international to the US. So.
Yeah. It was something like, and it was in widescreen, I think. And I remember seeing scenes in that wasn't in the version I saw on Sky Movies Gold.
Doesn't that blow your mind when you're watching a film and you see something like, I've never seen this scene before? There's no better feeling for a film fan.
It doesn't. Like,
it's
it's nice to hunt down rare footage and stuff like that from time to time. But with like YouTube, you can see everything now.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of access to all that stuff. And we're going to move on to. Remember this, just before we move on to the next film, there were two endings shot for this film, weren't there?
Was it? I didn't know that. Didn't know.
You did not know that. Well, hopefully this won't be giving away spoilers, but the original ending, which was shot, but the grainy footage doesn't help matters, was the helicopter basically running out of fuel.
Oh wow! Okay.
At the end, because the characters are going to the shopping mall, not shopping. What do you do later on?
Yeah, a little bit of shopping.
A little bit of shopping. But they're transporting in a helicopter, and like at the end of this alternative ending of Dawn of the Dead, I believe the helicopter runs out of fuel and Frank commits suicide with the blades.
I don't like that ending.
It's not nice.
No, I don't like that ending. I'm glad they changed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they changed it or why they went for that.
Stents. That would have been a horrible ending. You would have left the cinema. I agree. You would have left the cinema or switched your video off.
Plus if they had like test audiences and stuff like that, I wonder what had happened there and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very grim. And from the 70s, you had stuff like, because of Dawn of the Dead, you had like zombie flesh eaters from.
I don't know where that. I've got that somewhere as well. I don't know. It's here somewhere. Got horror movies everywhere.
Yeah, zombie flesh eaters from 1979. 79? Yeah,
yeah. 79, isn't it? Yeah, that's the one with the splinter through the eyeball, isn't it?
That's right, and the shark.
Oof, yep.
That came out the year I was born. 79. Showing me age. But let's move on to the great 80s of Day of the Dead from 1985.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's, Night of the Living Dead's the best one, and
I understand what you're saying.
Dawn of the Dead's the next one, and then Day of the Dead's the next one, and you know, but
kind of
they're all still good.
declining. Well, not I wouldn't say declining. The original trilogy is probably the best, but I know this one faced a lot of criticism, especially in the day. But it's become a cult classic.
Yeah, yeah. What's the name?
And
Is
this
it
one,
Bob or whatever? Is he the
Bob the
famous
Zombie,
Bob the Zombie? Yeah.
and they've done numerous sequels to Day of the Dead, and even a TV show,
Mm.
which just kind of like came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did, and then sort of disappeared. Then
It's on DVD and Blu-ray and stuff like that, but I just haven't got the energy or time to watch it.
no.
But Day of the Dead is basically the world has been overtaken by zombies. Everywhere's gone to pot. And one of my favourite scenes in that film of Day of the Dead, from George Romero, of course, is when they're on the streets. I think it's Florida at the beginning. And you see stuff like the alligator coming out of the bank, and the money's being blown about in the wind, and these zombies, and like they disturbed like a horde of zombies, especially what Walking Dead has become and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just don't make noise around zombies because this
No.
guy's on a megaphone shouting "hello" like that,
He didn't know the
and
rules, John. He didn't know the rules. He
they
should have
didn't
done.
know the
Could have done
rules,
his
did they?
research.
Yeah, they don't learn anything, do they?
No.
But Day of the Dead. I mean, this is a 2 disc version because I know Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead on Blu-ray are out of print or mega expensive.
So what is on the second disc of that one then? I'm guessing, as
Let's have
far
a
as I
look
know, there's
here.
only one version, so I'm guessing it's bonus features or something.
Yeah, The Many Days of the Dead, which is a 39-minute documentary. Day of the Dead Behind the Scenes. Filmographies of Romero and Savini, photo galleries, theatrical trailers. On this one, you've got the special effects team like Greg Nicotero, Walking Dead,
Met
Howard
him as well.
Berger, you know, KMB Studios,
Yeah.
doing commentary on the actual Day of the Dead film itself.
Nice.
But what I remember getting in the day, and I think it's on YouTube, but Tom Savini always pulls it down, is a massive 2 hour, maybe 3 hour VHS behind the scenes of all the special effects of Day of the Dead, which makes the film even more interesting, I find.
Wow, I didn't know. I may go and look for that after if Tom's not pulled it down.
I'll try and find it myself as well. I had
Mm.
it on like a DVD-R, but don't tell Tom.
No.
But not that I did anything with it, not like I was like making money off it or
No, you
anything
just
like
want
that.
it, don't you? You want it for your
Yeah,
collection.
because collective
Yeah.
purposes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it on YouTube at one point, and 1985, mid 80s, because you had Return of the Living Dead as well.
Yep, which I saw on Vestron Video. I rented that one. I
Yeah,
also rented Day of the Dead. That's where I first saw that. Was on
Day of
a
the Dead,
rental for the
Day of the
video
Dead,
store.
the cover to Day of the Dead was freaky on
Yeah.
VHS with all the zombie faces, or which were zombie masks, all pressed up against each other like a wall of zombies.
Yeah. I miss the days of walking into a video store and just browsing the
Yes,
horror collection.
and just wondering, just the covers just take your attention.
And you didn't know what the film was because, you know, we
That's what I
probably weren't
mean.
old enough to rent them. So it's like, what is this film? And I remember staring at the
I've
cover
got to
of
see it.
Driller
I've got
Killer
to see
for
it.
so many times going, why is this guy getting a drill bit in his head? What is
Should I
going
be
on? And then,
watching this at this
yeah.
age?
And
Yeah,
then years later, I ended up watching it. And I'm like, maybe shouldn't have bothered. Shouldn't have bothered.
yeah. Because when they first released Driller Killer, which was a video nasty, that was one of those films that had a lot of infamy behind it, but it was just kind of like just okay.
Yeah. It was like, yeah.
But what I liked about Day of the Dead, without giving too much away, is the beginning bit with the female with the female lead who was in Creepshow 2 as well, Laurie. Excuse me, dry throat.
You have to jet there. It's probably been about 15, 20 years since I've seen Day of the Dead. I haven't seen it for quite a while.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But I always remember the bit that used to scare me about it, or be made jump in Day of the Dead, was the beginning part where she goes to look at the calendar.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then, without giving too much away, there's a massive jump scare.
So I'm guessing you're similar to me, where Night is the best, Dawn of the Dead next down, and then Day of the Dead.
Yeah, you kind of like going downstairs with
Yeah,
the
but again, they're
title.
all three are still cracking films. It's just,
Yeah, I totally
if we're
agree.
going to rank them,
Everyone
we're going to
says
do it that way.
they're like a tier list. But I think everybody kind of loves the original trilogy.
Yeah. So I always think of it as a quadrilogy. I like to put number 4, which we're going to move on to. I like to put number 4 in that. I genuinely do like Land of the Dead. Yeah,
I do as well.
I
Yeah,
like
I
it.
didn't like it at first. I was thinking, yeah, it's all right. But now, Land of the Dead, which came out
Like 2005
many years, 20 years about, after Day of the Dead, about the mid 2000s.
Nice.
Came with a DVD.
Oh wow, even better.
It's a big poster of Land of the Dead.
But yeah, it's a good movie. It feels
Yeah,
like it's
Land
the
of the
one.
Dead, sorry.
It feels like that's
Yeah.
the one where George Romero got the biggest budget of any of them.
And he's backed by Universal as well.
Yeah, and
It
in
was a
some
Canadian
ways,
production.
it's kind of like when John Carpenter gets a big budget. His films aren't quite as good as they are when he gets a slightly smaller budget. So if there is a downside to Land of the Dead, which I do love, it's the fact that it doesn't have the same look as the first 3.
It's
But yeah,
it's a bit more polished,
yeah,
but it's still got that Tom Savini combination of him doing the special effects and having the gore.
yeah. And that's the director's cut as well that you've got there. So you've got a few extra minutes into the. And isn't that the one that has got Simon Pegg in it somewhere?
Yes, as a
Also,
zombie.
yeah.
And Dario Argento's daughter's in this.
Oh, is Asia in it as well?
Asia, yeah.
Yeah.
And the late, great Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Who plays
He's well cast in that film. That Waterworld, perfect Dennis Hopper movies.
Yeah, he's kind of like the head kind of business bad guy looking out over the town, over the city.
And that's it's Land of the Dead where the zombies walk through water as well, isn't it? They go under the sea. And then
They start to walk on the bottom.
To me, I think that was probably, obviously we've had the zombie shark thing in Zombie Flesh Eaters, but the zombies walking under the sea to get to the buildings was the first time we'd seen anything like that in a Romero zombie flick.
I'm going to backtrack just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dawn of the Dead remake, which everybody loves, which is up there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's with the zombie stuff. I just thought it was an interesting remake because I thought at the end of that film, they could have made or potentially gone somewhere with it. Because I thought they could have ended up, without giving too much away, on an island. Okay, let's remake or do a decent remake of Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Yeah, they could have done.
Think about it.
I think Zack Snyder had gone on to something else, I think, at that point, though.
But Zack Snyder's done all right for himself, hasn't
he? He's not doing too bad, is he? He's doing all right.
He's not, is he?
The DC fans don't like him, or some of them do. Some of them don't. I do. I think he's great.
I know what you're saying.
Is whenever people bring out that argument going, all remakes suck. Dawn of the Dead is one of those that goes, no, they don't, because it's a cracking remake, and in some ways, I think
Yeah.
it's a better made film than Dawn of
Of
the
course,
Dead,
it's a
the
different
Romero one.
time as well.
But
It's
I
a
still
different
love the
time.
Romero one more because it's
Oh,
Romero.
sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's a difficult one because I still love Dawn of the
Oh,
Dead.
same.
I still love the original Dawn of the Dead from '78. Came out around about the same time as like stuff like Blues Brothers. I mean, my brother used to watch stuff like this growing up. Even my little
Mm,
brother watched stuff like this. He was scared at first, but he used to love watching them. And he still watches stuff like this.
yeah.
And that remake of Dawn of the Dead. Sorry, I keep getting a dry throat. I'm talking.
You're not turning into a zombie, are you? Don't do that.
Bloody out, not.
So do I. If you do, it'll be on YouTube, so you get a few clicks. There is that.
Infamy.
Yeah.
But I've lost my trail of thought again. It's just
Yeah, so you got back to
brain.
Dawn of the Dead in the remake of Snyder's
That's right. That's right.
version with Ving Rhames.
Snyder's version's great. At first, I didn't. I was sitting there thinking, "Don't want to like this. Don't want to like this."
Yeah.
But it is a good film.
And technically, isn't it the first fast zombie movie? I know people go back to 28 Days Later, but there is the argument going, well, they're not
Yes,
zombies.
they're kind of like
So
hybrid.
technically, Snyder invented the fast zombie, I think.
They're kind of like, yeah, like you said, faster, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're scary. There's that scene where
Oh yeah,
somebody stood at a door and the zombie walks past, stops, crouches down like a cat ready to pounce, and then boom, straight towards the camera. And it's like, Jesus.
and the
We were
little girl
not used
zombie
to
at the
fast
start
zombies.
is. Yeah, sorry. And the little girl zombie at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, that beginning is amazing. I think without Dawn of the Dead remake, I think the Resident Evil movies would
Yeah,
have
I
been
agree with
very
that.
different. They feel
I
very
agree with that.
similar.
I remember Channel 4 in the day as well. That's why I remember all this because you can always remember good film memories. It's best to remember good memories.
Yeah.
But Channel 4 showed about 10 minutes off Snyder's Dawn of the Dead when it first came out on TV. Like a 10-minute preview when Channel 4 was really edgy.
Yeah.
And was really supporting and pushing the independent filmmakers and stuff like that. I suppose it does in some ways, but it's just not the same sometimes.
No, it's really Channel 4, the way it used to be, was very raw.
Yeah.
Channel 4 used to be like Night of the Living Dead, the original one. Whereas Channel 4 nowadays feels more Land of the Dead, doesn't it? So it's still good, but it just looks a bit more polished.
Very polished. Very, very polished.
Yeah.
But I'll just touch upon Land of the Dead briefly, which was the fourth installment after 20 years. It's a quadrilogy.
Yes.
And it must have took a lot for George to make that film because he wanted to do. Oh yeah, I'll talk about it. Twilight of the Dead is coming.
Is it real? Oh yeah, I think I read about that in some article. Yeah.
George Romero passed away in 2017 from like lung cancer, heavy smoker, which is really sad. And he's got this estate with his wife, and his script for Twilight of the Dead, which was originally going to be Day of the Dead, I believe. I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong there, or it could have been what Land of the Dead should have been. But Twilight is the Dead, which we've got to see what's going to happen with it first. So fingers crossed for it. Let's find a director. I know George Romero had a director's son, I believe, called Cameron. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
I could be wrong in that, but I think there was a Cameron Romero, or at least a relative of George's who was doing low budget films. But Twilight of the Dead is apparently coming out now.
Nice. We're also getting Festival of the Dead by Jen and Sylvia Soska.
Oh, right. Tell me more.
In collaboration with the Romero estate as well.
Oh, it might be something to do with that. It might be something to do with that.
That is probably out either very early next year, or it's been shot and done and everything.
Right,
So I'm looking forward
interesting.
to seeing what the Suskers are, because they adore George as well everybody does, but
Uncle
they've
George,
got
yeah.
a soft spot for him. So they've
I did not know that.
yeah.
So it's a film. Is it a film festival of the dead?
No, well, the film is called Festival of the Dead, and as
Right.
far as I can tell, it's a bunch of people that go to a festival to celebrate George Romero, and then crazy stuff happens. But in the
Oh, so
US,
it's
I
not like a
think I
documentary;
think
it's a
it's like a
film.
Tubi exclusive or something in the States. So I don't know
Oh,
how
right.
we'll get it in the
So
UK, but we'll definitely get it in the UK somehow.
yeah, it'd be nice to see like if that sort of thing or Twilight of the Dead would get the attention worthy of being shown at cinemas
Yeah, I would hope
mainstreamly.
so.
That's what I hope for anyway.
Mm.
But following Land of the Dead, things kind of go a bit
Yeah, they got a bit. Yeah.
cleverly done, and I was waiting ages to see this film. 2007, 2008,
Yeah.
Diary of the Dead.
And is this
Shoot
the
the
one that
Dead.
jumps on board the sort of found footage
That's right.
camcorder type style of filmmaking that was popular at the time?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Like Cloverfield.
Is that still in cellophane there, John?
Yeah. It's the
No.
steel. It's the steelbook version. That's
Oh, you
why
preserved it.
preserved it. You can still get this. I know you can.
And what's your thoughts on it, on the film?
Well, it was all right.
Yeah.
He
I'm
went.
glad
He
it
went to Fright
exists
Fest,
rather than it didn't exist. I'll watch anything that Romero did, and if it
but
wasn't
it's
good,
not as bad as
I'm
the
okay.
next film.
No. No, the next one is a bit rough, isn't it?
But just talk briefly about Diary of the Dead. It's fun. It's not the best film. It's zombies versus students with cameras,
Mm.
and they're kind of like telling the story. But it's just kind of like at least Romero went back to his independent roots.
He did, and you know what? At least I don't know what his experience was doing Land of the Dead. Obviously Universal were watching over his shoulder, and the budget was bigger. And I
Mm.
I get the impression that George just wanted to go. Do you know what? I want to go back to the way I used to make films. Do it smaller,
Yeah,
and he experimented with Diary of the Dead. And for some people, maybe it didn't work,
very experimented.
but I'm glad he tried it. I hope he enjoyed trying it and filming it.
I feel sorry for George in some ways because
Why? Why do you feel sorry for George?
I feel sorry for George because he made these epic lore of zombie films,
Yeah.
and then this came along.
Yeah.
And for example, this is no disrespect towards George. It's not
No.
his most ill-received.
What is it? Which one's that one? Yeah, Diary
Diary of the
of
Dead,
Dead, and then Survival.
Surviving of the Dead.
Survival, I think, is the ropiest one of the series, if I remember rightly. No?
Yeah, this is the last one that George sadly directed.
Yeah.
At least it tried to do something a bit more straightforward because this one was like fan footage. This was
Yeah.
a straightforward film, but still didn't quite hit the mark. Survival of the Dead
No.
sort of thing. But in these films, I mean, if people want to go out and watch them, go out and watch them.
Oh, do go out and watch them.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
great.
Even some of the bad ones.
Yeah.
But obviously, there are classic ones out there. But I think some people think, "Oh, zombie film's a zombie film," but I just like the fact that George made this zombie lore like the old, because he was influenced by the old black and white films like Frankenstein and Dracula. He recreated the zombie from just the voodoo
He
thing
did. Yeah.
and made them into flesh eaters, made them into scary things that if you get bitten by, this is zombie lore. If people don't know, they should know by now. You get bitten by a zombie, you're becoming one.
Yep.
And that's just way before Walking Dead. I'm not putting Walking Dead down because I still like Walking Dead and stuff like
I
that.
like Walking Dead, but you know, obviously the fact that one of those DVDs or Blu-rays you've got there has a Greg Nicotero commentary on it. Greg Nicotero, for anyone who doesn't know, he's one of the main people that's connected with The Walking Dead.
Yes, indeed.
He would never say he wasn't influenced by the George Romero films.
That's very true as well. That's
You know,
very true
so
as
without
well, Stuart.
Romero, there is no Walking Dead at all.
Very true. I totally agree with that. I mean, George was very vocal about The Walking Dead by saying, "Oh, it's a soap opera. It's this, it's that." And I'm not saying he isn't right about that, but I still get entertainment from just having that comfort of just sitting down and watching The Walking Dead, not on the streaming, but coming home and putting on like a season. I know people have got favorite seasons, people have got seasons that they don't like, or they like. It's like Marmite. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah,
But I just like sitting down and just letting a season run. I mean, it's the same with if you put on Disney or Netflix and you just let the seasons go and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I'm kind of pulled back to the physical media stuff because I don't want to be trapped on the laptop
no,
like a zombie watching stuff or just half watching something like a zombie.
yeah. I have 2 streaming platforms now. I dumped all of them, other than 2. I currently have BritBox
Yeah,
because Annette, my other half, loves all these British crime dramas that she's not seen on BBC, so she's got that
yeah.
one. And the other one I've
My
got
mum
is
and dad
Prime
like that.
Video because I do the shipping and stuff. I dump Netflix,
Yeah.
Apple, Paramount, Shudder, all of them because I'm like, I've got loads. I mean, that's not my entire DVD collection, but I
I
have a
know what you're
lot of
saying, mate. I
I
know
have
what
a
you're
lot of
saying.
physical media, as do you, and so I don't need to
Yeah,
be paying £10 a month and not watching anything.
exactly. It's just stuff to get through,
Yep.
and if you don't like something, you can always sell it or
Or
pass it
give it
on.
away and go, here you go, John, you've not seen this, have it. I can pass it to the iPad
There
camera.
is that as well. There
Or,
is
you know,
that as
me, you,
well.
and
I'm the
April can
same.
just, we'll swap all the collections together. Because April's
Yeah,
got 3,000, so we're all right. We're not going to run out of films for a while.
I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm going off topic either, but with physical media, it's like Best Buy in America is going to stop selling it next year,
Yeah.
which is quite daunting because we don't want places like CEX or HMV or FOP to close down because we've only got HMV in Nottingham now,
Yeah.
which is quite daunting in itself because it's all turned into student places. No offense to the students or coffee places.
I would
But let's go.
recommend all your favorite films, try and buy them on disc. Because
Yeah,
I genuinely do think once Best Buy stopped doing it in the US, I mean, Asda and Tesco and stuff barely do it over here anyway, to be fair. I think it will. I think it'll go. And it's a shame. Yep, pretty much.
exactly. That's,
Pretty much. I remember when I
yeah,
ran a
that is
video store
depressing.
I ran a video store for years, and I remember around
Yeah,
2002 seeing, hang on a minute, this is all going to go. And I closed my store down in 2003, and it wasn't too many years after when video rental stores went bye bye. But you can feel it.
yes,
You can feel the change.
that's like just.
So yeah, it's grim.
I do remember those times as well.
Yeah, yeah. Spent a lot of years running one of those things.
George Romero. I'm going to keep on the subject of George Romero. Have you got any other favourite Romero films that aren't zombie related
Well,
or
I enjoyed Martin,
Martin the Vampire?
which is a vampire one. I remember seeing that on BBC Two. I think it was
Yes, I
very
remember
late
it
one
in the
night,
90s.
and I watched that. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm always going to go back to the zombie films for Romero because that's probably primarily what he's known for, and what he's done more zombie films than he has anything else. The first Creep Show was good. I
Creepshow's
also like
great.
the Dark Half, which is based on the
Yes.
Stephen King adaptation. That's one of my favorite Stephen King ones. It's not
Who
the
was
favorite
in?
Stephen King one, but
I'm trying to think who was in that. I think it's just like a few.
my brain's thinking Timothy Hutton for some reason.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you're right. You're right.
and that's
I do
the
remember the
author, and the
Dark Half.
crows are coming, and all this sort of stuff. And that was
That was a very quite dark, brave. It looked like it was one of those films that felt like the ones that Romero probably wanted to make.
Yeah, and he was also for a while he was attached to do Resident Evil as well, the first
Yes, I
movie,
remember that.
and then that just it didn't happen, and obviously Paul Anderson got it. And I like the Paul Anderson film, but I'd like to have seen what a Romero
Romero could have
Resident
done with
Evil
it.
film would have looked like.
I mean, I remember this website called Website of the Dead, and that sadly closed down. But they would. This was the days of like forums and message boards and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And we both have been around a bit to know about all this stuff.
yeah.
But website, I think it was called Website of the Dead anyway. But generally, it would show you everything that you needed to know, like scripts,
Mm,
behind the scene photos, spin offs, alternative VHS cases from around the world.
yeah.
Website of the Dead, I do remember that website. And sadly, I don't think it's anymore.
No, there's a lot of websites were once a thing, and people just didn't keep up the domain name costs, and
Yeah, the domains, yeah, and stuff like
away they
that.
went. I wish I'd have
Yeah,
had a bit more time to put my Dawn of the Dead poster behind me instead of my Top Gun one, but that looks good with George's
yeah,
signature on
yeah.
it and the other three cast members and stuff that I've
Very
got.
good. Yeah, I do remember you having that. I think I saw it in
Mm,
like one of your documentaries that it was like in one of the behind the scenes or something like that.
yeah,
Or it was like behind on the wall
yeah. I
somewhere.
used to have a glass frame right
Yeah.
behind, and that's definitely one of my sort of cool collections. Was getting those people to sign it on that day.
George Romero is um, a guy who worked with Tom Savini.
Yeah,
And Tom Savini, known through the mainstream, was Sex Machine in From
Dust Till
Dusk Till
Dawn. Yeah,
Dawn. And
hmm,
you know Tarantino was a fan of George Romero
yeah,
and stuff like that, just for example.
yeah.
And I think easily Night and let's go back to Night and Living Dead. Influenced stuff like Sam Raimi for Evil Dead
Hmm.
in some ways. In having a small location, one location, stuck in a cabin or a house, nowhere to go, and everybody's turning on each other or turning to demons or ghouls. And that premise is just something that I remember, like films like Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, that
Yeah,
took the
yeah,
premise from Night of the Living Dead and just made it into demons
yeah.
and religious stuff. And yeah, it was an okay film. I remember seeing it on cinema when I was younger. Well, I was a bit younger than 18. But I managed to get in to see it.
And we haven't mentioned, which isn't well, it's based on a Romero film, but directed by Tom Savini, Night of the Living Dead, 1990, the remake.
1990, yes. Let's. I tell you, we're gonna for the rest of this, we're gonna talk about Night of the Living Dead, I think,
Okay.
because we seem to latched onto it,
Mm,
or at least related stuff. But 1990s Night of the Living Dead, which didn't come out in the UK till like a couple of years later, I think, was a great film.
it is. Again, it's one of those old remakes are terrible. Well, that one's not, and neither is Dawn of the Dead. So
It's a colour
it's
remake of
good.
Night of the Living Dead with a few
Tony Todd.
twists and turns. Patricia Torman,
Yeah.
Tony Todd, yeah, who was from Candyman, who went on to do the Candyman's
Hmm.
films a few years later. Patricia Torman from Babylon 5, and she was in Army of Darkness as well. But the remake to Night of the Living Dead is worth a watch.
It is,
You can
and
still
it's
get it
not
on
just a
DVD.
remake, though, is it? It plays
It's a
plays with the
retelling.
audience. You know, it's not. You can't sort of go, "Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen now," because it sort of messes with you a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It does. It kind of retells the story, but kind of thinks, well, that didn't work in the original. Well, what was in the original, which was quite annoying. We think we're gonna make it better for this remake, like stronger female characters. Whereas in the original Night of the Living Dead, Barbara was screaming at everything.
But that was a sign of the times, wasn't it? It's like if people haven't seen the Romero films, watch them
Yeah.
in order, because Night of the Living Dead is very 60s, Dawn of the Dead is very 70s,
Oh
Day of
yeah,
the Dead is very 80s, Land of the Dead is very early 2000s. So it
that's right.
does it is a wonderful glimpse of the time. So if you do watch
Yeah,
them
they
in
do
order, don't
reflect the
just
times.
watch them out of order. Be a bit weird.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. They do reflect the times. So we're basically saying, I think, Night of the Living Dead, thumbs up.
Definitely. If I had 3 thumbs, I would put 3 thumbs up for Night of the Living Dead. Amazing.
Then I think Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah.
78.
Yeah.
As in
I would give that thumbs up.
yeah,
I genuinely love it, but it's like to compare a Dawn of the Dead to something so amazing as Night of the Living Dead. It would have to be I don't know. I don't think you could make a film for me that would equal Night of the Living Dead. I saw it
yeah.
late in life, but I fell in love with that film as soon as I saw it, and I
Well, that's
knew
great. That's
this
great.
is why it's a classic. Now I get it.
Exactly. Then I was saying basically we go in order, and if we say obviously Day of the Dead, as in the George Romero films,
Yeah.
Land of the Dead, and
Yeah, we pretty
forget
much are
about.
in order. It's a little bit of a sliding scale, even though I love them
It
all.
is. It is.
It's-
But
yeah.
here's a controversial one: which is the better film, Day of the Dead or Land of the Dead? It's hard to say, isn't it?
It is hard to say. There's not much in it.
Of
There's
that
not
one,
much. It's not like, oh, that's easily miles. I don't know, to be honest. I would have to
because
rewatch
Day
them
of the Dead
again.
is a good film, but it drags. The gore is amazing if you
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. I'm not saying that I go out to watch films because I want to watch like the next Splatterfest or whatever.
No.
But in the 80s, practical effects were great from Tom Savini. You're not saying they weren't good from anybody else or anybody like that, but the practical effects in Day of the Dead, sorry, the special effects gradually get better with the trilogy,
Yeah.
the first 3 films.
Yeah.
And the special effects in Day of the Dead with like guts hanging out, people being torn apart,
Mhm. Is it Dawn of
etc.
the Dead where it's got the elevator scene or whatever? Where it's just like,
Yes,
I think that, yeah, that's insane. That
that's a
special
great
effect.
scene. That's a great scene as well.
I think I
I
might
think
have to go Land of the Dead a little bit better than Day of the Dead. I think pondering that one,
that's
I
fair
might
enough.
have to
That's
go
fair
that.
enough. Oh, but Day of the Dead must have done something right because it spawned silly remakes
Yeah.
or lackluster remakes,
Yeah.
a TV series, and a few bits and pieces here and there. No pun
Mm.
intended.
There's definitely
Zombie
more
bits,
remakes of Day of the Dead than there are.
bloodlines, and
I mean,
stuff
there's
like
a
that.
few Night of the Living Dead ones. There's a British one, which is Night
Ah,
of the Living Dead Resurrection, which I
Night of
watched
the
and I
Living
didn't
Dead.
mind it, but it wasn't connected to the Romero thing, which I thought it was when I first
There
watched
was the
it, but it wasn't.
30th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead as well.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Was this the one where they just shot new scenes and put it in? Oh, that was bad. Yeah, I mean that wasn't a
That's no,
Romero thing. That was somebody
that's John
clearly.
Russo, weren't it?
That yeah, it wasn't good. It's not.
No
Avoid that
disrespect
one.
to John Russo, but like it could have been better.
Yeah, couldn't really have been worse.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do like John Russo because he went on to write Return of the Living Dead, didn't he? The
Oh
novel.
yeah, no, I like John Russo, but it's like that was not a good move, and I'm sure he would probably
Yeah,
go, maybe shouldn't have done that.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to put people's work down or
No, not
anything
at all.
like that. But they have got their strengths in certain areas and weaknesses in other
Yeah.
franchises.
I mean, if somebody said to you, John, right, so I want you to go shoot some new scenes and put it, we're going to insert it into this 1968 classic. Are you up for that? You'd be like, oh, I don't know.
They'd be
Hey, how
like,
much are you going to pay me? And if the money was enough, go for it, take the job. But I'd be
and not
nervous
only
doing
that,
it.
it'd be like thinking, like, if you go in to log on to Facebook or YouTube or something, like, you see the comments like, "Oh, they're doing this, they're doing
Yeah,
that." I'm
you're
like,
like,
"Oh, they
no.
better not do that."
But yeah,
I'm like,
it's a
"No,
bit of
not
a
me."
sliding scale. But I do enjoy them all. But they do gradually. I don't even want to say get worse. They're just not. The later the films, they're not as good as the previous ones. Is the super
Social
polite way to say it.
commentary.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was about to say there's a lot of social commentary on each film as well, isn't there?
Certainly the first four.
Yeah,
Which again, I don't know if that was always meant to be, or whether film fans have just said, "Nice." Whether film fans have just decided to put this commentary thing on it.
yeah, I know what you mean because like you said, it's a fan's interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said, with the original film with Vietnam and the news, and it's a
And
bit like
race,
no,
they always say, "Oh, it's about
yeah,
racism." And George Romero always used to say, "I didn't cast Ben because of his skin color. I cast Ben
because he
because
was
he
a
was
good
the best
actor
actor." And yet people are like, "No,
and
no,
he's a strong
this is
actor.
why you did it." It's like, "No, I know why I did it, for this reason." And then they put the
You're
same
right,
thing on the
Stuart.
second one, going, "It's all about commercialism." He's like, "I just want to shoot them all." So who knows? So it's whichever
That's
way of
true as
thinking you
well.
go down works.
Yeah, and like I said, I've kind of like put my own interpretation on it as well. Like zombies, all on the phones, like lemmings walking off the cliff. That's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like I didn't want to sound critical or anything like that,
But we
but
can't sound critical because hopefully, I mean, people might be walking around
watching
listening to
this,
you and watching this on their phones. So,
that's very true as
carry
well.
on
That's very
watching.
true.
Carry on watching and click like buttons and little hearts and leave
Yeah,
comments.
yeah, exactly. Like, leave a comment,
Yeah,
subscribe.
we're not criticizing people that are watching this on their phones. We're criticizing
Yeah.
other people that are watching other channels on their phones. Don't
Oh
do that.
yeah,
Watch this
definitely.
one.
It's a double-edged sword,
Mm, it is.
and this is why they say about people being zombies and stuff like that. They just sleepwalking away into.
Yep. Oblivion.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I didn't want to say, but you are right. But that was the point. That's my social commentary reaction to what zombie hordes are.
Yeah. Everybody stare at their iPhones or Samsungs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I've got an Oppo.
Oh, I have a Samsung. Samsung, but yeah, I'm doing this on an iPad, so
Well, the most important thing is when you know how to tear yourself away from it.
which I do. I never used to. I used to spend so much time on Twitter, as you
It's
know,
stressful. It's stressful,
constantly,
isn't it?
constantly. And then it's like, no, I don't need to be spending 8, 9 hours a day on it. So I do take myself away. And
Yeah. Well, what I've started to do, I've started to with Twitter, and this is going off the subject a little bit, is if I see like a trend, and I think if I click that, it's going to be lead to like rabbit holes of like deeper depression or something like that. So I
yeah,
just
yeah,
put not interested.
yeah,
I know you've got to know so much about the news and stuff like that, but I think there's healthy amounts and there's unhealthy amounts as well.
yeah, there is.
You know this stuff
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
but
I see people, and I saw somebody the other day on Twitter saying, I think I might leave this platform because it's just full of trolls and negativity and stuff like that.
it
And
depends how you handle it, isn't it?
I always go back with the same answer, and it's like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
if you stick to the people that you follow and who follow you, you're fine because you end up chatting about movies
Like
and stuff
this.
like that. If you click on hashtags, then that's when you go into the Wild West and see all these idiots and who seem to be losing their minds about DC, movies or politics and stuff like that. But if you just keep your timeline tidy, then it can work. I think Twitter's a great place, or X or
Or
whatever. But I
X.
still think it's a great place. But it's
I know
just
what you're saying, Stuart. You're
you know,
right. You're right. You're right, and you've got a great philosophy there. But it's me who digressed. But Night of the Living Dead. Why should everybody watch it?
Because everybody throws this thing around saying, "Oh, it's a classic movie," as in like in general, watch this, it's a classic. There are probably about a dozen films that are genuinely classic movies, and that is one of them. Night of the Living Dead. I waited until I was about 28 to watch that, and I loved it when I watched it when I was 28, but I wish that I watched it when I was like 15 or something because I've been able to watch a whole bunch more.
Have you seen Flesh Eater with
A
Bill Huntsman?
zombie flesh eater or flesh eater?
It's just called Flesh Eater,
I have
aka
not.
Zombie Nosh.
No, I haven't seen that. No, I don't
It
know
was
if I'd watch a
originally.
film called Zombie Nosh. It sounds a bit weird.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
A
But
little bit.
the alternative title is Flesh Eater.
Let's go with
It
that
started.
title.
It came out 20 years after Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
It was. You could say it was like a. Well,
Hey, somebody agrees. I don't know if they agree with you or me or maybe both. I don't know. But thanks for
probably
agreeing.
both. Probably
We like it
what
when
we were
people
just
agree
saying
with us.
previously. But thanks for that, Puckwall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but Flesh Eater. I don't really want to leave the spot, but it's down in my other collection, deep down somewhere, like
Yeah.
hiding. But Bill Hinsman or Heinzman again, and he's resurrected from a coffin, and basically it's all zombie, independent gore.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you the trailer for it. And it probably is on YouTube or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'll have a
I'm
look.
trying to
I've just not
advertise
heard of the
it.
film until now, so I'll go on a witch hunt later on. Or a zombie
Yeah,
hunt.
from 1988 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's amazing, just refinding or rediscovering films.
Yeah.
And that's the fun bit.
And that's the beauty of physical media. I think we touched upon
Definitely.
streaming and stuff before, but this is the way a lot of films that are out there that just
Mm.
aren't on any streaming platforms, and they're going to get lost. And I'm sure Flesh Eater is probably one of those where it's probably not going to get pride of place on a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, but
I agree with you.
it's a fun movie, and there are discs out there. Get onto CX and buy loads cheap.
Yeah, I think I picked up a few hour films from CEX.
And they're one of
For
the good labels. There's
Blu-ray.
those. So if you want to start buying your physical media, Arrow, although they've gone downhill from where they were a few years ago, Second Sight, they do an amazing job on
Yeah, there's
films.
Second Sight.
They're really good. I think Second Sight are my favorite ones at the minute.
Yeah.
For the issues that they do. Good stuff.
Second Sight. I recently picked up from 88 films.
Yeah.
The Mr. Vampire sequels.
Right. Yeah.
Mr. Vampire is like one of those films from 1985, came from China or Hong Kong. It's Cantonese language or something like that. And it was just one of those films that was on Channel 4 when Channel 4 used to show cult films with like Jonathan Ross introducing it. And I'm
Yeah.
sure Jonathan Ross has introduced stuff like this before
I'm
as
sure he
well.
has. Yeah.
And it's just a great film series. And Mr. Vampire, but they're hopping vampires and they don't sparkle.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Pre-sparkling vampires. That's good.
I know they've had zombies that have kind of like gone into like the mainstream as well, not with Walking Dead. I'm on about like warm bodies and stuff like that.
Yeah, Warm Bodies I've not yet seen. I like Nicholas
Not
Holt.
interested in that.
I've just never watched it. I just never got around to it. I'm sure your list of films that you've not seen yet is just insanely long. Mine just gets longer each time.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
blink.
and they're always bringing new stuff out, which is
Yeah.
good at the minute when they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're always kind of bringing stuff out.
Yeah. I just watch what I want to watch. I've
Which is
gone
fair
beyond
enough. Which is fair enough.
even though I do all the podcasting and the website and the social media stuff. It's like I can't watch everything, so I just go. You know what?
It's hard.
I don't need to watch everything that comes out each year. I'll skip it and I'll go back and watch the Neverending Story again, or Night of the Living Dead, or Night Riders, if you want to shout that George Romero film out.
Yeah, George Romero, Night
Go that way.
Rider, Night Riders. Tom Savini was in that as well.
He was indeed.
There's Creep Show. There was the series Tales from the Dark Side, which was produced by Richard P. Rubenstein, is it?
Yep.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
There's a lot. He was a busy guy to sort of
Yeah.
think that Romero started, his movie career with a tiny film like Night of the Living Dead that just went, crazy popular at the drive-in theaters and stuff.
Well, it came out
became
Night
a
of the
cult
Living.
classic.
Yeah, and it came out on Halloween night.
So why do you think people should watch Night of the Living Dead? We've heard my answer. What's yours?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. It's just because it's scary what people can do to each other in desperate situations.
Yeah.
And you could also like write an essay on it itself, like if you was showing this if you was a filmmaker and showing it in college or anything like that. And like for what could be done on a low budget. And sometimes it doesn't always show the gruesomeness, but it's always put into your mind.
Yeah. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, that's a classic example.
That's another one where you don't see what you think you see.
That's a classic one, yeah, for what you're saying. For what you just brought up there. And it's got so many great lines like they're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. People know that
They
line
won't stay
even
dead.
if they've not seen the film. They're like,
They'll know the
that's
lines.
a zombie one, isn't it? They know it. It's a good line.
Yeah, exactly. Are you planning on watching any Halloween films tonight?
I have the new Agatha Christie film to watch, Haunting in Venice, so technically that's creepy horror. But no, I don't know. It's like this. I'm going to a funeral tomorrow for somebody. And so obviously all the preparation's been running up for that. So normally what I do is I will spend, and I've done it for the previous Halloweens, is watch horror films for 12 hours. But today I've been busy and, Halloween's nearly over and I'm busy tomorrow. But
well, it's the build-up's better, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, it is. My sort of routine would be Night of the Living Dead, Blair Witch Project, 28 Days Later. I would start about 11 o'clock in the morning and just have horror movies playing on my TV all day. Even if I wasn't in the room, I would come in and it would be partway through. And that was a tradition that I did for quite a few years, to be honest. What about yourself? Are you going to watch any horror movies tonight?
I've got so much to go through as well.
It's never ending, isn't it?
It is never ending, because I bought Brain Damage the other day on Blu-ray. It was only £8.
Yeah, I remember the cover for that in the video stores as well.
Yeah, very. You should I be watching this?
No. It's a film called Brain Damage. No, I don't want to watch it. Sounds grim.
Brain Damage, yeah. Zombies, they've got brain damage.
They certainly do. They certainly do.
But
it's nice that we've got together and done this on Halloween.
Yeah, I'm just trying to manage to time it right and you being free and stuff.
I made sure it was free when you mentioned it. I'm like, I'm doing nothing. So I had my tea earlier and I sat down and chatting Romero and zombie movies and stuff with you. It's been a while since we had a chat.
Romero. Have you got any more stories about George Romero when you met him?
I took a bunch of photos. He let me just sort of photograph loads. And I'll send you I'll put the pictures on your Facebook thing. But I did get a picture of him holding the little sheep, the Lamb of the Dead, with the smile. Just that he was a really nice guy, just very personable, very approachable. Because it's like I'm waiting in a queue to chat to him. And this was so around Land of the Dead time. And I'm thinking, that's George A. Romero. The guy's a legend. He was a legend in 2000.
It's like once in a lifetime you get to meet him, sort of thing.
And I'm like, I am literally going to meet George A. Romero. This is and this was before I started all the podcasting type of things. And since then, I met a whole bunch of people and spoke to all sorts of people. So I've sort of got used to it a little bit more. But back then, it was like how am I in a queue about to meet George A. Romero? And he was just the nicest guy. And then later that afternoon, it was Tom Savini and Ken Foray and Galen Ross, and I've got pictures of them all with this little sheep. It's just weird. It's just like a thing I did back then. I'm like, let's just have the sheep
No,
and
I
everything.
understand. I totally get it. I
It
totally
was just
get it.
weird, but they were all super nice. Just a whole nice bunch of people.
By the way, I want people to check out From Page to Screen.
And that's with the number 2. In other words, people use to type in the TO, and it's like, no. But yeah, that was something I just started up years
Your
ago.
links in the description anyway, and on
Oh,
the
you're a
time.
star, job.
That's all right, mate. I meant to make sure I got it done properly.
So how are you doing? How are you? I've been watching all your YouTube videos and stuff. You've been busy with all this stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's with YouTube. It's difficult because I'm trying to get monetized again. I know it is difficult. Oh, it's just as hard as playing the Super NES game Ghouls and Ghosts.
It really is. Yeah.
I'm trying to. It's not impossible, but it's hard.
So
But
what is it because obviously it's like the weird thing with YouTube, and anybody who doesn't know, it's just the weirdest thing. It's not like you
the
do videos and
algorithm.
then they instantly monetize you. You've got to jump through about 400 different hoops.
I think the live streams are helping a bit. So I appreciate your time for this today
No,
and
it's
everything.
fun. Yeah.
And like, I think the best thing to do is be consistent, but over, don't overdo it because you can lose interest in it. Because when I was a bit ill the other day, a bit under the weather with just stress and feeling a bit flu-like, I
Yeah.
thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. Can't
Do
be
you know,
doing with it.
there's nothing wrong with that though, John, because it's like
Yeah,
you obviously know what I do, where I watch films and review films and talk about all that sort of stuff. For the past 2 weeks, I have watched like nothing because I just like there are there are no films that I want to watch, and obviously there are films I want to watch, but I just could not be bothered. So I didn't. I just didn't watch any new films. I'm like, meh. I've watched some
yeah,
TV and stuff like that, but it's like, and again, it's with YouTube. It's like if you don't want to do a video, just don't do one.
yeah. You're right. You're right. I mean, I've got a lot of my stuff backed up, like I said, through Odyssey and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which I think I sent you a link for. Sorry.
Mm.
And so I just kind of like, there's been a shift because I had the original YouTube, a second YouTube, which was a bad idea. Then I went back to the original and started all over again.
Yeah.
So we're back to basics now, and like back to the original channel, Mr. Shelton TV, instead of Mr. Shelton TV 2. We're just, it's not a
Going back
bad
to the
thing.
original one. But no,
And try to
just
learn from stuff.
my biggest bit of advice would be just don't put pressure on yourself. Oh, I need to do a
No, no,
video. No,
no, no.
you don't need to do a video at all. Oh, it's been 2 weeks since I've done one. And,
Well, the
you
thing
know,
is, Stuart, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Stuart. Like quality over quantity. Um, but I've had so much that I could reuse that going into New Year, because I've got like October for horror, November Godzilla month, December might be Transformers. Which might sound a bit random, but it's old school Transformers because it always reminds me of Christmas
yeah.
and stuff like that. Going into New Year, hopefully positive things. So
Mm.
we'll see.
But you're doing well with the videos that I've seen.
Thank you very
Because, I
much.
mean, I was watching a video like this, but obviously I wasn't on it, the one that I was watching. And it was just you. You were just there, just like, oh, I watched this film this week, and you were, and that was the sort of thing of the video. And I thought
Yeah, yeah, I
that
remember
is
you saying that.
fascinating. So then, probably about a week after that, I did my first very own live stream on my YouTube channel. It was just me talking into a laptop, and then
Good
the two
stuff.
people ended up being in the chat, and that was because of watching you do yours.
I
Made me
appreciate that.
think, well, I'm gonna try it and see what it works. But
My advice is to probably live stream once or twice every week or every 2 weeks.
right,
Because like you've got to set yourself up. You got to get like, if for example, if you've got a guest, you want to get them prepared, and they want to be prepared, and
Yeah. Because
but
I'm sure you know yourself, it's like sometimes you think, right, I'm going to do a live, I'm going to do, I'll say podcast for me, but right, tonight
yeah,
I'm going to do a podcast because it's Sunday and I do podcasting on Sunday. And you
that's fair
sit
enough.
down and you go, I can't be bothered. I have nothing to say. You
Yeah,
know
there's
that
no
if
point in forcing it, like you said, either.
you know that if you go on the live stream in that mood, you'll just be like, oh, I really watched anything this week.
See, I want to try and get more
It's just
guests
like,
on.
that's
I
not
want to try and
interesting
get
enough.
more guests on and stuff. No, I certainly know what you're saying to it, but I want it to be intimate to the point of like where I'm not chasing people, where I'm actually saying, "Would you want to do this?" And they go, "Yeah, let's do this," sort of thing, rather than just like, "Well, this is loopholes. You've got to think about this. You've got to think about what you're going to be asking." Da 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 da. And I'm just like thinking, "Oh no, you're
I
taking the fun
always,
out of it."
because I've done a whole bunch of interviews over the past however many years, crazy
Yeah,
amount, and I always
I
have like
understand.
3 or 4 questions written down, and I barely use them
Mm.
because the first thing so if you were a guest, I would ask you something, going, so what are you working on, John? And then you would give me your answer, and then I'm coming up with new questions based on what you've just said. So there isn't too
Yeah,
much
you kind of like
preparation. It's
bounce
just the
off, don't
ability
you?
to talk, isn't it? Which you can do and I can do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's supposed to be well with it at this stage. I'll say it's nicer to have it relaxed and
Yeah, of course it is. I don't even call them
fun.
interviews. I always call them conversations
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
because an interview is all my question. No, I don't. I very rarely do that.
Yeah,
But
because
what I've done, and I do
yeah.
it periodically, and it might work for you, is you
Okay.
type out like a message going, "Hey, I do this thing. And here's some links to some examples, and I want to get you on my show." And then you blast it out to about 25 different guests on your list, and then like 15 will come back and go, "I'm in. I want to do it." And then you go,
Exactly,
"Right,
exactly.
let's now plan them out
I know
over the next
where
few
you're coming
months."
from. Basically, I just want to keep it like my homies.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't want to be chasing people. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with other people being interviewed on in
No, I
different
don't think.
capacities or by different people or anything like that. But I just want to do what's right for me.
And how does
But
this feel? Not so much just like this exact conversation, but how does it feel that you're doing it? Are you, when you're having these conversations, you enjoying it? Is it good?
oh, of course, of course.
Brilliant.
I'm looking at the time, and not that I'm clock watching, but I'm just looking at the time and just like thinking, yeah, it's just flown by.
Yeah.
But before we shoot off, I know you've got a bit of time, but I'm gonna probably
Mm.
get a coffee or green tea or something
So we're
like
not going
that.
for this 13-hour then, John. I'm disappointed.
We're not going for the marathon.
We've only got 11 hours and 40 minutes left. We can do it. No, we can't. Don't worry.
Night of Living Dead. Definitely go out and watch it. Watch it. Watch any George Romero film. If you like zombies, if you like your classic horror, Night of Living Dead, the black and white version, definitely
Yep.
worth a watch. And Stuart, before I shoot off, and I'll probably talk to your messenger afterwards as well.
Hmm.
Um, any last words, basically, from off the George Romero conversations?
No, just as you said about Night of the Living Dead, watch it. It's a classic. Even if you're
Yeah,
not a horror fan, which I wasn't at the time, I'd seen horror films, but I wouldn't say I'm a horror fan. It's an amazing film. And then obviously it's Halloween night tonight when this is going out. So just
and this
whatever
came out on
anybody's,
Halloween, like I said. It came
it
out
did,
October
night
31st.
16th. So whatever anybody's doing tonight for Halloween, just enjoy it. Make sure you lock your doors
And
before you go
stay
to
safe.
sleep. Lock
Yeah,
them.
and lock the doors.
Lock the doors. Close the
It's,
windows, and stay safe.
oh, that's another thing with Night of the Living Dead. When I watched it, you might laugh at this. Um, my auntie used to own like an old people's home,
Mhm.
and the smell of it was overbearing.
Yeah.
I always remember it, and it always reminded me of Night of the Living Dead. And I didn't want to sleep next to the window either because I was scared that hands were going to pop through and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just memories are made like that.
They are. Yeah.
Stuart, anybody watching now, I want you to please subscribe to From Page to Screen. The link's down below. Say hi to Stuart. Say that John sent you. And Stuart, I want you to have a great Halloween, and I hope your week goes to plan.
Yours too.
And take care. I shall see you soon, my friend.
Thanks to everybody in the chat as well for putting up with me and
Yeah,
John
thanks.
waffling
And
for the past hour and a bit. It's been fun.
I hope we've given us some good recommendations as well for people who wanting to watch zombie films.
I hope so. And if there's any we haven't talked about, drop them in John's comments. So then, we'll see them.
Yeah,
Maybe
please
we'll
do
add them
that.
to our ever-growing watch lists.
That's cool. That's cool. Right, so I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna log off here. I can't remember how to do it.
See, we
Oh, I
might
know how
end
to
up
do
being
it.
here for 13 hours. You
I
enjoy
need the
your evening,
toilet.
John.
I need the toilet a lot. Take care, Stuart.
You too. Take
You
care.
too, mate.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye. Bye, YouTube. Good night.